On August 26, 2024, the manager of a 63-unit apartment complex in Houston, Texas, contacted the police to report a horrifying discovery. He explained that an unidentified person had informed him about a woman's body found in one of the apartments. When the police arrived, they were met with a deeply disturbing scene. The victim was identified as Muna Pandey. Shortly before the incident, she had installed a surveillance system in her apartment. This crucial step enabled the police to identify and apprehend the perpetrator. Muna Pandey was born in Nepal, a South Asian country with a population of over 30 million, renowned for its temples and the Himalayan mountain range, which includes Mount Everest. According to reports, her parents were divorced and she had a strained relationship with her father. In 2021, her mother encouraged her to move to the United States. Muna's mother had relatives in Houston, Texas, who were ready to support her after her move. Given the challenges Muna faced with her father, who was described as highly violent, her mother believed it would be safer for her to leave Nepal. After arriving in the United States, Muna enrolled in a university to pursue a nursing degree. Muna was described as a dedicated student with a deep sense of empathy. She balanced her studies with a part-time job at a restaurant in the afternoons. Later, she transitioned to working at a clothing store. Over time, she saved enough to rent an apartment in a 63-unit complex in Houston. Initially, she shared the space with a friend, but her roommate eventually moved out, leaving Muna to live alone. After her roommate moved out, Muna began living alone in the apartment. In 2023, she confided in a frightening experience to her best friend, Kunwar, who was living in Boston at the time. According to Kunwar, Muna revealed that she was deeply afraid because she felt someone was following her. She also mentioned seeing a man's head peering through her apartment window, which left her shaken. At the time, Muna contacted the police, who promptly dispatched officers to investigate. However, after a brief search, they were unable to locate the suspect. The officers speculated that the man might be a resident of a neighboring apartment, but they couldn't justify knocking on doors without more evidence. Additionally, Muna was unable to provide a clear description of the man, as he had fled the moment she noticed him, leaving her with no opportunity to see him clearly. Following the incident, Kunwar, Muna's best friend, advised her to install a surveillance system in her apartment. This way, if the man returned, he could be captured on camera and later identified by authorities. After installing the system, Muna felt somewhat safer, though she remained on edge. Tragically, no one could have predicted that a year later she would become the victim of a brutal crime. However, the surveillance system she had installed would play a crucial role in solving the case swiftly. On Saturday, August 24, 2024, Muna was scheduled to meet with friends, but she never arrived at the agreed location. She also didn't respond to messages or answer calls from her friends. The same pattern worried the manager at the store where Muna worked. Concerned that Muna hadn't shown up for her shift, the manager attempted to contact her through calls and messages, but received no reply. According to the manager, he and Muna had been exchanging messages earlier that day to coordinate her work schedule. Suddenly, she stopped responding. Initially, he didn't think much of it, assuming she was preoccupied with something else. However, when Muna failed to show up for work, his concern grew. Despite Muna's unusual behavior and the inability of her friends and manager to reach her, no one went to the police to report her absence. 2 days later, on August 26th, the manager of the 63-unit apartment complex contacted the police after a man informed him about a woman's body in one of the apartments. When officers arrived at the scene, the manager unlocked the door to the specified unit. Inside, they discovered Muna's body lying on the bed, riddled with multiple gunshot wounds. Muna had sustained 3 gunshot wounds to her torso and 1 to the back of her neck. The forensic team later determined that she had been dead for at least 2 days, indicating her life was taken on August 24th. Officers analyzing the crime scene found no signs of forced entry or a break-in, leading them to conclude that Muna likely knew her attacker. A neighbor informed detectives that on the night of August 24th, between 8:30 and 9 p.m., he had heard strange noises coming from Muna's apartment. When asked if the sounds resembled gunshots, the neighbor stated that they did not sound like firearm discharges. While one team of officers interviewed neighbors to gather as much information as possible, another team began reviewing footage from the surveillance cameras Muna had installed a year earlier. The recorded footage proved to be the most critical piece of evidence, enabling officers to identify the perpetrator. The video showed that on August 24th, Around 8:40 p.m., Muna was standing in front of her apartment with shopping bags when a man armed with a pistol approached her. He pointed the weapon at her and forced her inside the apartment. The man then entered as well and, approximately an hour later, was seen leaving the scene carrying one of Muna's bags. Authorities released the footage to the public through various media platforms, urging anyone who recognized the man to contact the police immediately. 2 days later, Muna's former boss, who owned the restaurant where she previously worked, contacted the police with information. He claimed that the man in the footage was a regular customer at the restaurant and had known Muna from there. A woman also contacted the police, providing crucial information about the man. She stated that she had seen his photo on a sugar daddy dating site, matching the image from the footage released by authorities. She further revealed that she had gone on a date with the man approximately 12 years ago. Using this new lead, the police were able to identify the perpetrator responsible for the crime against Muna Pandey. The perpetrator was identified as Bobby Singh Shah, a 51-year-old man of Indian origin. Bobby was arrested on September 4th during a traffic stop in northwest Houston. Remarkably, he was still wearing the same blood-stained clothes seen in the security camera footage when he left Muna's apartment. During a search of his vehicle, officers discovered a firearm, which was believed to be the weapon used in the crime. Bobby Singh Shah was formally charged with the murder of Muna Pandey and sent to the Harris County Jail. His defense requested bail, hoping he could await trial in freedom, but the request was denied. Authorities revealed that Bobby has an extensive criminal history, including charges for theft and making threats. While the exact motive for the crime remains unclear, investigators believe that after meeting Muna at the restaurant where she worked, Bobby began stalking her. It is highly likely that the man who followed Muna a year earlier and was seen peering through her apartment window was Bobby. Based on this, it appears that Bobby became obsessed with Muna. He may have attempted to pursue a relationship with her, but when she did not reciprocate, his fixation escalated, ultimately leading to the crime. Notably, Bobby maintained a profile on a sugar daddy dating site, a platform where older men seek relationships with younger women by offering material goods and financial support. This evidence clearly indicates that Bobby had a particular interest in younger women, and Muna may not have been his only victim of stalking. While no trial date has been set yet, under Texas law, if convicted, Bobby could face the death penalty. Muna Pandey's family is heartbroken by her tragic death. Her mother, who had encouraged her to move to the United States for a safer future, is now grieving the unimaginable loss of her daughter. Muna's friends launched a GoFundMe campaign to help bring her mother, Anita Adhari, from Nepal to the United States and to cover the funeral expenses for her only daughter. Thanks to the generosity of those who contributed, Anita was able to travel to the United States to say her final goodbye. A Hindu funeral ceremony was held for Muna on September 9th.